Hello indie game fans, here are the best indie game deals of the Steam summer sale, with prices falling as the video progresses, beginning with Phoenotopia Awakening, a game that looks to be a Zelda 2 inspired Metroidvania in being more open world in nature and having plenty of different areas to explore. A great starship has appeared in the night sky and has taken away all the adults. So as the newest, oldest member of the village, our heroine sets off on an adventure to save her family and friends. This is quite the expensive game, with over 30 hours of playtime for the main story and side activities, having different weapons and tools, enemies and bosses to battle, secrets to find and so much more, all wrapped up with a gorgeous pixel art style. In the grand scheme of things, this game is underrated since it first released on Switch and then on Steam a few months later to little fanfare, and does have its share of issues in terms of how tedious it can feel, of the grind and the penalty for failure, so take caution heading in, but I do think that there's merit to this game, and at 65% off, it is worth a try. This next title is about as much of a no-brainer, since Hardcore MECHA is a side-scrolling action game that allows you to hop into sick mechs and to do battle, but mixes that in with a variety of game modes as well. For the most part, this is a side-scrolling action platformer, but does have on-foot sections where you control the pilot, side-scrolling shoot-'em-up sections, and even alternative game modes like wave-based survival, in addition to the story campaign. If you love mechs like me, this will be your jam, since there are over 42 mecha to unlock and play as, spread across all kinds of different styles and designs, and it's a steal at 70% discount, and you can watch my video on the best mech indie games as well. One of my favourite Metroidvanias is Timespinner, since it has, of course, gorgeous pixel art which I'm a fan of, and is very heavily inspired by Symphony of the Night, down to how the enemy names pop up when you attack them. This takes place across time and space, as our heroine attempts to change time to alter fate and to save her family, with the setting being interesting since you could be fighting fantasy monsters in 1 minute and then switch over to futuristic guards the next. Our heroine also uses rotating orbs as a main weapon, which is very interesting, so get this if you're a fan of the genre, with there being a sequel in development, so get up to speed before that releases. One of the best games that is relatively unknown, all things considered, is Supraland, a first-person Metroidvania for all intents and purposes, set in a literal kid's sandbox as your character explores the world. The developer says that it's a mixture of Portal, Zelda, and Metroid, so you know those are great inspirations to draw from, having puzzles to solve, abilities to unlock, which then allows you to access new areas and can even be used in platforming and solving puzzles. Combat is alright and not really the highlight, but as a whole, it is very good and is an absolute must-get at 77% discount. You might know that I have a thing for Metroidvania games, so you can always ask in the comments for more suggestions, with the underrated underwater entry from 2021 named Pronty being the title of interest here. You are exploring a once great underwater city which has become overrun with mutant sea creatures, but with the help of your trusty javelin fish companion by your side, no obstacle is too great for our intrepid duo. This has a nice hand-drawn art style, although I believe its biggest barrier is that it is set underwater, where traditionally, underwater controls in video games do feel off, but that is not the case here since it is pretty fluid and responsive. There's a pretty extensive upgrade system as well, in which you can mix and match upgrades, being limited by points, so there is strategy heading into a boss fight, being one of those hidden gems which is worth picking up during a sale.
Disc Room is a game about rooms with discs. Really sharp discs.
You venture inside and control a brave scientist, exploring the sprawling intergalactic slaughterhouse.
Each room is full of unique goals, and new rooms are unlocked as you run around in a desperate struggle to stay alive.
Devolver Digital rarely misses, although that might be changing, with a smaller release from 2020 titled Disc Room being worth a look. This is an arcade title, which even back in 2020 seems to have run its course, which probably explains the number of Steam reviews which can be extrapolated to its sales figures, in which you're trying to survive for as long as possible in each of the rooms filled with deadly saw blades that will slice you to pieces. However, there is a tremendous amount of variety in rooms and gimmicks, as well as special abilities to unlock and objectives to accomplish, although you will still end up dying, but hopefully you will be able to unlock the next room and move on, being a refreshing palate cleanser in between larger games. There have been a number of notable side-scrolling aerial combat titles over the years, most of which are pixel art and are sleek and stylish to various degrees, but I think that there's enough of them to make a list, so let me know in the comments if you're interested in such a video, in which Jet Lancer will of course be featured here. You play as a once-in-a-generation talent who has to destroy mechanical monstrosities as they seek to destroy the city, ranging from the run-of-the-mill enemy jets to giant robots and more. It just looks so sleek and awesome, with the freedom of flying feeling great, as well as the sick aerial maneuvers that you can pull off, making this game also very satisfying. Now here's a relatively recent release that is already heavily discounted, in which the monster taming roguelite with Metroidvania elements, Patch Quest, is an absolute steal at this price. This is a bullet hell roguelite, so kids, that means the bullets kill you, so think the opposite of Vampire Survivors, in which you are exploring the lost city of Patch Lantis in search of treasure. The gimmick is that you can wrangle any monster and eventually be able to ride them as a mount, gaining access to their special powers and attacks, which you can use in combat as well. However, more interesting is that these monsters have special abilities that allow you to gain access to new areas of the map, so there's your progression, and even has a home base and meta progression elements in between runs, being an adorable but challenging experience. I do of course have to give mention to Dicey Dungeons, a roguelite RPG in which you were rolling dice and using them to activate your equipment and abilities, being at a whopping 80% discount, where if you have picked this up at launch, there's a free DLC titled Reunion with 6 new episodes and is worth a revisit if you have not played it. I think that a lot of people, like me, have been chasing the high of Hotline Miami, which released way back in 2012, if you can believe it, of the all-action, instant death and retry gameplay loop, and not coincidentally, most of these games tend to end up being published by Devolver, such as Katana Zero, and another game with a similar vibe is Ape Out. This is a monkey game in which you play as an ape attempting to escape captivity by smashing your way out, and even while you do have a rather limited moveset, it works for this game, with the music in this being generated according to your actions, and is one of the most unique things that I have seen, with a minimalist but stylish visual style as well. Watch this video for more upcoming action games.